all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough.
Hey there, Dropped Out Dev here. Coming at you. We're going to do a threat assessment video here. We're going to circle back on a few, weeks of activities here and go over a couple concepts and thoughts on what is going on and where we are at. So a lot's been going on. We did have nationwide protests break out. As well as military parade go on, attacks on Iran, deployments of the military, lots of things going on. These items are all, from our list that we developed back in January as things we would potentially see. We did feel, locally here, in many kind of key, what I'm calling like key cities, maybe you could term those like blue cities or democratic cities or whatever, but anyways, large cities, we had a bit of unrest, lots of protests. In LA we had deployment of the National Guard and the military, and then we saw protests across the nation showing the American people's distaste with how things are going all around the country. Since then, lots been going on. There's a lot of news stories to cover and things. I'm not going to really dive too deeply into those today. We're just kind of bringing the threat assessment up to current so that, we can figure out where to go from here. But basically, since then, more or less, protests have been peaceful, aside from a few, kind of isolated incidents. They've been relatively peaceful. So hats off to all those out there in the streets that are keeping them peaceful and keeping the message going forward. I think that's helpful. Great. So the situation with just focusing on the protests seems to have calmed down a little bit from where I'm sitting, although, in your area it might be a little bit different. Just let us know if that's the case, and, we'll make sure we comment on that, think about it, and add this to our thought process here. So awesome. So moving on from that, one thing I'd like to touch on is the attacks in Iran. Now, on our assessment here, from the initial statements and the directions that the Trump administration had stated that they were going to go in, it was looking like Canada, Mexico, Panama, Greenland were all kind of like, in the sights of where the Trump administration might go for some kind of international statement or show of force. And authoritarian regimes need this to create some kind of groundswell of patriotism to kind of get them through another 90 days of, that's usually how long, wars are popular for the first 90 days. So that kind of like could carry them a little bit further so they could do more stuff, basically. And so they found their scapegoat, or they found their target, which for right now seems to be Iran. Where they attacked several military installations, and it's a very chaotic situation still. I don't think we have all the details out, but there was, several bombing attacks, and, went after some facilities there. It's very interesting because there's several like triads of power, like squaring off here. You have Putin, who's an ally of the Israeli government and an ally of Iran, and then Trump, who's an ally of Putin and an ally of Israel, and they're all kind of like squaring off in this weird way. So we're seeing this carving out of these two lines being drawn, and forces taking an oppositional approach, at least at this time. China getting in the mix and taking Iran's side and kind of carving out that oppositional dynamic there. So more so what that does is just create a lot of chaos and uncertainty in those areas. I'm not really going to like try and speculate on where all those forces will align in the future, tomorrow, the next day. I'm not really going to be able to do that. Although I think it seems like, it does seem like, a split. Those forces may shift around on other issues, or they may shift around in the future. They may continue to face off. We don't really know. I think from where we are now, where we're floating with this red-orange barrier here of like how dangerous things are, they're continuing to go down the same path that, of escalating danger. Although maybe temporarily, for maybe this week, the next couple weeks or whatever, in terms of like the protests and stuff, these maybe dying, coming down a little bit, and then while the regime focuses internationally, works a little bit, it tries to get a little bit of international things, see how much support they can drum up, potentially. I don't know if that's their goal, or kind of is, or what their end goal is there, but see how far this can take them. Maybe they'll continue to turn their sights internally again. One interesting thing is there was a little bit of a division within the Trump regime in their own ranks, because some are like such hard and direct Putin and Russia plants, basically, or operatives, or their Russian assets, that they took a direct adversarial stance to their own regime, to Trump. So that was kind of interesting. So I don't know if we'll see a little bit more of that, if they'll kind of like coalesce it back in and like turn into turn those sights on a domestic adversary again more. It kind of could be kind of like kind of go back and forth like this, like internal and external, internal and external. We don't know. But yeah, a lot of uncertainty still. And so I just wanted to highlight those ideas, kind of bump it around. And just one of the shortcomings of this assessment is that from here, there's not a lot to go on. Because we had a lot of like statements from the previous Trump administration. We had a lot of statements from the lead up to the election of what was going to happen. We had a lot to go on, and we were able to, look at all those things and put them in this order or whatever, and look for them to happen. But now we're in more of a uncertain point where there isn't those statements to go on from here. I mean, we've kind of been through all the things they said they wanted to do, pretty much. Just going to see probably more of their efforts put into those things, and And yeah, we're just gonna see probably just more uncertainty and more things happening. But we're gonna look out for them. We're gonna keep trying to analyze things, keep trying to understand what's going on and how to plan for it, and keep trying to be aware of this stuff, even though it's like it's overwhelming, especially like, I don't know if you like me, but I got kids at home from school. School's out for the summer, so my time that I can focus on this is even more limited. So anyways, just that's kind of the couple things I wanted to touch on for this. Now I put that, although things did get a little bit intense there, generally across the nation, I put like kind of like a de-escalation more recently, just in those key cities. You know, if it's different for you, just let me know. We'll talk about that, and we'll add it to here. So thanks for taking a look. I just wanted to get that brief kind of message out there, and keep it going, keep the conversation going, so that we can keep thinking about this stuff, and hopefully it'll help. And that's it, pretty much. Just a quick one here, and yeah, take care, and remember, the storm is howling. We're gonna go forward. Thank you. Bye.